Hello again, Sam with the Bluegrass Martial Arts. This is part of our Scholar Warrior series. Again, Scholar left hand here represents studying the Word of God, and the warrior, fist, engaging in our culture. That's our representative of our salutation. The first idea that I wanted to go over is really, or a good place to begin this discussion, is what is the purpose of studying martial arts? So when I ask that question, and I'll do that in an open forum, I get answers like it's good exercise. Hopefully, if they've been doing it for a while, they can report that they have a good time doing it, that they enjoy it, because the way I teach my classes, I believe that if I'm having a good time, they'll have a good time as well. So hopefully they're having fun with it. They're getting flexibility, they're getting confidence, they're getting all the things that come from a good martial arts, quality martial arts education. But then on top of that, you'll often hear that they're getting self-defense. This idea that if you ever had to, if it ever came down to actually using this in a real situation, would you be able to protect yourself? And the Kenpo systems are really built, the curriculum they have to know from level to level, are situational. Someone's attacking you this way, and here's a one of many options as to how to get out. And as you go up through the levels, those options get a little bit more refined, and they get a little bit more complex, a little bit more challenging, but at the same time keeping always in mind being practical. Sometimes those challenges get to be more threatening too. Like, we don't introduce a knife attack right away. We'll save that for later. So the level of danger also increases as the skill levels increase there. So self-defense being a big focus if someone is looking to study the Kenpo karate system. What that comes back to for me and my calling to teach martial arts is that I believe that we all people bear the image of God, what they call imago Dei. And that is that image of God that we actually need to protect, right? So someone who is seeking to do harm to the image of God that I bear, I believe that it's not only right for me to know how to protect that, but that it is that I'm actually called to. No, I believe we have a responsibility to know how to protect the sanctity of life. But in doing so, not to do harm and damage the sanctity of life that even someone who's attacking you bears. So being able to resolve the situation with minimal damage to the sanctity of their life as well. We don't push, of course, using lethal force at any point, and we just build that force as necessary, but always seeking to only do just enough to be able to handle the situation and then make an escape, not doing any more, not inflicting any more damage than that, right? So this idea of sanctity of life, or image of God, and where do we find that? Where does it show up? Well, it's right in the beginning here. If you go all the way back to the book of Genesis and in chapter 1, God creates a lot of stuff right there in that first chapter. And when we get to verse 26, God is going to make, in that sequence of creation, the height of his creation, the kind of pinnacle of the whole thing. He says in verse 26 through 28, "Then God said, 'Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth.' God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, 'Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth.'" So this image of God, it shows up a good 2-3 times just in that section. Let us make man in our image, right? So we bear the image of God. He has placed his image upon us. And in the sequence of creation, he doesn't do that with anything else. God has already created plants, he's created animals, fish, and beasts, and none of them bear the image of God, right? So only mankind is going to bear the image of God. And what that means is we are going to be like God in ways that the rest of creation is not. We will be able to think creatively. We will be able to reason. We will be able to use language. And be creative and build tools. All these things are reserved for us because God himself is an intelligent designer, and he thinks rationally and creatively and even abstractly. And so he places his image upon us, giving us part of that ability as well, so that we're able to be creative and have these same attributes that God has given us. It's kind of a universal, something that God has given all mankind, but it's reserved for mankind. It's not something that the rest of creation has. And it's that image of God that we bear that actually makes life sacred. So life, just for the sake of life, isn't sacred. It's life that bears the image of God. It's the image of God that is sacred. It's the image of God that must be protected and that must be respected. So as we teach martial arts here, my vision for this is that this will be a place, bluegrass martial arts will be a place, where we seek to become agents who can defend the image of God, defend the sanctity of life, both in ourselves and in the communities and the relationships that are around us, and that we are even mindful of the image of God that is that the attacker bears here. And so we seek to only execute whatever technique we need to do to stay safe, to the extent that it keeps everyone safe, including the person even attacking us, that we're not going to do any further damage than necessary. And that's part of the commitment as Kenpo Karate for Christ. So that is the image of God. That is my kind of vision, my purpose for teaching martial arts at all, for engaging in this practice. There are other reasons why I love it. I love it because it is a non-traditional athletic thing, so that you can become quite strong, quite athletic if you don't get into normal athletics. And it engages your imagination in a way that I don't think other traditional athletics do, right? Even when I was little, I always wanted to be Batman. And now I'm a lot older, and I still want to be Batman. It just engages your imagination in a way that just sucks you in. And that's one of the reasons why I love martial arts. But the never escaping that practical side of, well, if we really have to use this, then it's about being able to protect the image of God that He's placed upon me, that He has placed upon everyone else, and that if we don't, as believers, become agents who will defend that image, the rest of the world's not going to, right? That's only a priority for us. So I see that as a calling for the believer. So if this rings something true to you, please come by or give us a call. We do free trial classes. We don't do any hard sales. You can come in anytime and try the class out and get a flavor for what we do here and meet the community of people that do this as well. Thank you for your time.